Hey, how you doing? Quinn Redeker with Rider Magazine. Today I am completing a 2-day journey on the NT1100, Honda's new release of the sport tourer bike that they have in the US. And I just want to give you a little bit of, since I just hopped off the bike, a little seat of the pants information about it, what I gleaned in these 2 days of riding. We went from Costa Mesa over to Borrego Springs. If you're not familiar with those particular regions, think about lots and lots of beautiful Southern California canyon riding. Beautiful to look at, but more importantly, lots of just fun, winding, beautiful canyon riding. So I really got an opportunity to kind of put this bike through its paces. We went a little bit of freeway speeds. However, we didn't really do much droning freeway speeds. So that's important because I first want to talk about this motor. This NT1100 motor is a twin. It's based on the Honda's Africa Twin. What's important about this motor, in my opinion, is yes, it's a twin, but this thing is a revver. This is unusual. Twins are usually torquey. They don't usually really rev. This thing revs out pretty good. So what I found myself doing a lot of times while we were riding is I would nice and smooth, nice and torquey, short shift it, but then other times I would be able to just hold the gear and let this thing rev out, which was again kind of unusual. This thing has 101 horsepower and approximately 90 foot-pounds of torque, and I'm paraphrasing on those numbers, it's approximate. But what I would say is it rides like a motor that's about 130 horsepower and about 100 foot-pounds of torque, in the sense that I can just kind of click it wherever I want, put the gearing where I want it, and this bike will pull it. And I really love that about this engine. I'm sure people will want to know, well, what's the RPM range at freeway speeds? You know, is it buzzy? Well, I can tell you this, it is not buzzy. This counterbalanced engine is nice and smooth, and I can tell you that because it did not even occur to me. I didn't feel it in my hands, I didn't feel it in my feet, I didn't feel it in my butt. This thing just is nice and smooth. So I don't know, I can't tell you what the RPMs are, but I can tell you when you ride it, you're gonna forget to ask yourself that question. Nice and smooth. Now, canyon riding, what did I notice? Well, the first thing I noticed, and I would say the game ball goes to these radially mounted brakes. These things are super, super strong, but not just strong in the initial pull. I like that they never faded, they never got mushy, they didn't get grabby, they were just nice and consistent. And really from sort of a confidence inspiration standpoint, they made me feel safe while I was dropping into and trail braking a lot of these sections in the canyons that we rode. But what it did do is it really, I think, it pushed out the issue that I had with the forks. The forks were just undersprung. Now, the way these forks work are in the left fork tube, you have spring load, and you can adjust that externally. The right is all the damping, the compression and rebound damping. I grabbed a screwdriver and I cranked down the preload that I could in the left spring, and it helped kind of mitigate it, but it didn't really take it away. The bike still just, I felt like, dove quite a bit. And as a sport tourer, and this is me by myself, if I was too up with bags, I think it would really reveal itself. That being said, the shock, which is adjustable on the outside as well, I played around with that adjuster and ended up very shortly turning it too tight. So I eased back up off the rear shock spring. So I think that's fine. And the damping in the fork was great. And what I mean by that is, although I got a lot of dive in the front end, it didn't pogo stick back up. So I'm mid-corner coming in on brakes, and then I come off the brakes. The thing just didn't unload like a 78 Cadillac Eldorado. So the damping felt fine, it just felt undersprung. So that's a spring change, really easy to do. Now we're riding down the road. What do I notice? Well, the biggest thing I notice is this windscreen. This windscreen is just too small. It feels like it's on an adventure bike, which of course an Africa Twin is an adventure bike, and this bike is kind of built around that in some of the ideology that surrounds this NT1100. And I felt that. Now, as a motor officer, I've ridden a lot of sport tours, right? The ST1300 Honda, every variation of BMW, RT platform, the Kawasaki Concourse, and all of those have windscreens, as you would imagine a sport tourer to be, whereas this is smaller. And if I was doing adventure riding, I would not want a big windscreen, and this thing would have been great. And although this is a 5-stage adjustable, and I can do it with one hand, and it's great, every adjustable setting that I used from 40 miles an hour on just didn't do the trick for me. So I was a little bit bummed out on that. Some of the other journalists would say, oh, you're in the highest position, move it down 2. That seems to be working for me. I'm 6'2", about 190 pounds, 195 pounds, fine. I'm 195 pounds there. Anyway, maybe it's because of my height overall, this just didn't do it. So if this were my bike, that would be something I would absolutely change. Probably the first thing I would do is change the windscreen out. Now, this model that's coming to America is only a DCT clutch. So what does that mean? There is no actual clutch lever with it, right? So we're not shifting gears in the traditional way using a clutch. And I had never really ridden one other than in a pinch when I would do training for people and they had this set up and they said, hey, I'm struggling with some tight cone stuff, and I would hop on their bike. I would add power to the rear wheel and I would drag the rear brake a little bit and I would get through sort of in a pinch. You're fighting, the motorcycle's fighting itself when you use that. I'm asking it to go at the throttle and slow at the rear brake, and it works. I was able to do full lock figure 8, nice tight stuff on this bike, and like I said, in a pinch, you find yourself in a slow environment, absolutely. But if you consider yourself a tight environment cone warrior, the DCT clutch probably isn't for you long term. Everywhere else, I was blown away at how well it worked. It was easy, it was fun, and the biggest thing that was kind of the aha for me was it didn't take away from the motorcycle riding experience, and I think I know why that is. But before I get into that, my first thought when I hopped on the bike is, well, I use a clutch. I know how to shift. I've been riding forever. I'm a man. Well, guess what? Over time, I stopped worrying about that. I took it out of the manual mode where I had to shift it all by myself, and I just put it in the regular drive mode. Why? Because at any point in time, I could override it by upshifting or downshifting, whether I had it in sport mode or I had it in just regular drive mode, meaning that the bike can just cruise along and it will shift for you, upshift and downshift. And if for any time you're like, you know what, I think I want to drop a couple gears and hammer the throttle, boop, boop, that's it, and you're in. Or you know what, I want to short shift it off this. Short shift, all day long. It'll allow you to do that. So you realize you actually are part of the conversation related to the motor and the transmission shifting gears, which is fantastic. And what it really allowed me to do is just kind of ride my ride, pick my line, think about what I was doing on the motorcycle. So when I say it didn't take away from my riding experience, here's what I mean. When you think about riding your motorcycle, you're at a stop, you click through the gears, now you're in a canyon, or now you're up to freeway speeds. We're no longer really engaging the transmission. We've kind of accomplished what we want to. We've gotten up to speed, or we're slowing down. The shifting to and fro speed isn't really where the joy of the motorcycle comes from. It's leaning, it's trailing in, it's exploring the environment that you're in. And this transmission, this clutch setup does not impede any of that. It did not impede any of that for me. And in fact, too, when I was really we were starting to pick up the pace and hustle through some of these canyons, I didn't have any issues with it upshifting and downshifting. It was purposeful, it was flawless, it was very direct engagement. Really, I outside of the tight police stuff that I do, I would probably want this for every bike that I have. Dare I say it, there it is. So let's see, what else about the bike? Nice and light underneath me, does not feel big and heavy at slow speeds. Balanced really well, I like that about it. Seemed to hold its line really well. I didn't have any issues anywhere in our ride. We had some heavy crosswinds, didn't seem to upset the bike much. Another niggle also that I didn't really love, and this is just because, this is not my bike. I haven't ridden it for 3 weeks. I've had it for literally day 2, right? But the cluster here with all the different communication stuff to the software, as well as the turn signal, as well as the shifting, all of that was so close together that my big fat thumb was downshifting when I didn't want to, hitting the horn when I didn't want to. So it was kind of all that. There's a lot going on in the cluster for your finger. More on the left-hand side than I experienced than on the right-hand side. I didn't love that, but it's like arguing that I stayed at your house and I complained that the bathroom's not where I'm used to it and it was difficult to find. Well, if this was my house, it wouldn't be a problem. So if this was my motorcycle, that problem would have gone away, probably within 2 or 3 days, and I would have just had no issue with it. Anyways, a lot of fun. Thanks to Honda for allowing me to take a ride on the bike. Fantastic platform. Really looking forward to seeing it out here. I think people are gonna like it. If you are worried about this DCT thing and you've not really spent any time with it, just trust me and try it. I understand it's new and new things are not fun, but this is fun and you're gonna thank me for it. You're gonna really like it. All right, okay.